He's so handsome. What's up, Internet? Before we get into The Walking Dead, the episode, thank you, and all of the goodies and fun that occurred within, I want to say welcome home to my friend Janae from work, who was traveling to Paris, France. Like there's another Paris somewhere. And was globetrotting. She brought me home a gift. Let me see if I can get the zoom in trick to work twice. Unsolicited, really super cool snow globe, which is going in my office. I love Janae. She's a wonderful coworker. She's the most fun person to sit by. And I really miss sitting by her and being her neighbor. Hopefully in the future, good Lord willing, we'll be reunited. So here we go. Walking Dead, thank you. Oh man. Oh boy. There's lots of stuff to talk about. I'm really going to talk about the crux of the episode. Glenn and his spoiler, his death. And I say his death because I don't think he made it. And we're going to get into that in a minute. But first, let's separate the show from the book. Okay? I don't read the comic book. Not because it isn't good. It's because I watched the show. And typically when you have book and movie or book and show, everybody's like, oh, the book's better, the book's better, the book's better. It's a different medium. I've decided I'm not going to read the comic. I'm going to watch the show because that's the medium I'm interested in. So I'm only going to focus on Glenn, TV show Glenn, not comic book Glenn. I understand that comic book Glenn is around a lot longer and has a different role to play in the future. Who will take up Glenn's role in the future with the impending arrival of everybody's favorite villain? I don't know. Maybe Daryl, maybe Carol, maybe Michonne. I don't know. So let's get into the show. Okay, so from the start of the episode, and my wife called it, Glenn was cooked. Cooked. From the front of the episode, the show opened on Glenn, and you just kind of had this vibe, like, something's not right. He was too Glenn focused. It was too much on Glenn. So, and Glenn makes references throughout the show that he might as well have had a red Star Trek shirt on. Pulling out the Herschel's pocket watch. As if to remind the audience that he still had it. The fact that the rumor is that Maggie is with child. So all of these things. Him talking to Rick on the radio, be careful, dumbass. The first thing that he ever said to Rick. So it all screams trouble for Glenn from the get. And I know other stuff with other characters is going on, quite frankly, none of that matters. So back to Glenn. Well, the Rick stuff matters because it's Rick. And we'll get into that because Rick Grimes said so. But I digress. All right, Glenn, let's stay focused. Glenn makes some terrible decisions in this apocalypse. And I just don't mean this episode. Trying to save Nicholas is a giant mistake. He did try to murder Glenn. Pretty sure if you take a shot at me in the woods and try to murder me, especially if I have a wife who's carrying my baby back at the ranch, fairly certain that guy's going to be left out in the woods. Of course, I probably wouldn't have killed him. I probably would have just crippled him and left him for the walkers. But I digress. Glenn, ever the good soul, tries to save everybody. And to his credit, Glenn is a great guy. He is somebody you want at your back in the apocalypse. He's resourceful, he's brave, and he cares. He cares about everybody. And that is ultimately his demise. Setting a fire to the place is not a terrible idea to distract the herd. Not a bad idea at all. The problem is you're listening to Nicholas. PTSD-ridden, terrible guy Nicholas. The guy that you watched kill Noah effectively, feed Noah to the walkers, that's the guy you're taking advice from. That's the guy you're helping and following. That's the guy you want at your back? Really? And then when they get to the feed store and it's burned to the ground, and he is trying to get Nicholas, who's obviously way out of his depth, to say, where do we do now? What do we do now? Where are we going? Dude, for real. Glenn should have just cut bait. So, Glenn's death. And let's address some of this stuff. Glenn is on top of the dumpster, and Nicholas, again, screws him and blows his brains out. Poor effing Glenn. At this point, so damaged. Why would you want to go on? I guess I don't know. So, and everybody has made this big deal about, and I've read about 4 articles today. Well, I mean, Nicholas fell on top of him. He can be covered in guts and then survive. Okay. He could have maybe crawled down to the dumpster. Okay. Dumpsters don't have a lot of clearance underneath them. Okay. And, okay, he pulls himself underneath that dumpster. How long are you going to lay under that dumpster, traumatized, and wait for this herd to peter out of there? And that, in the end, it doesn't really solve your problem, because the town is still overrun by walkers. And not like a dozen, hundreds of walkers. And quite honestly, Glenn's survival, it kind of cheapens the whole thing. Is my preference for Glenn to live? Yes. Do I think he did? No. I just don't think it's possible. I just don't buy it. He survives, I just don't buy it. And if that's the way the show wants to go, that's fine. It's interesting if Glenn lives, they find him, then he serves his role that he did in the comics with Negan, an episode or 2 after his triumphant return. Then you got some drama. Then you got a punch. But at this point, I think Glenn's gone. And it's a shame, because everybody likes Glenn. Is a great character. But again, in this show, in this universe, the Walker is king. And as much as the group rallies against that, the Walkers are king. I got notes. I have notes. Let's stop with the Rick shaming, okay? Let's stop taking a do on everything Rick does, because nobody else is stepping to the plate to lead this group or the Alexandrians. And quite frankly, Rick is right 99% of the time. I think people have more just listened and not tried to be like, Rick don't care, he's going to get us. You know what? You get yourself killed. Because you poop your pants if there's a walker in the area, and you freeze up and you don't act. So don't blame Rick. It's not him. I loved the RV shootout. Again, proving that Rick will do whatever it takes, which I like. Once Rick finds the baby food, I think it kind of kicked in like, oh man, I'm trying to do this, but my kids are back there. If they got the baby food, where are my kids? Which kind of leads to him breaking down towards the end at the RV, proving that he does have humanity left. He's not a complete Governor-esque monster. And the RV being kind of swarmed by walkers. I'm not worried about Rick in the least. Not at all. So, next week is 90 minutes of Morgan and how he became to this Zen place with his stick. Okay, we'll see. It could be a great episode. You've had 3 very, very good episodes so far. We'll see what happens with this 90 minutes of whatever it is. The other part I want to address when it concerns to Rick, just briefly, stop trying to take Rick's hand off. Stop feeding people that Rick's going to lose his hand and teasing people about it. Kirkman has said he regrets doing the comic. The TV show has said it's a logistical nightmare. I really don't think they're going to do it. Quite frankly, I don't want them to, because it's gratuitous and I just don't care for it. It's a cheap trope to have the hero with a damaged arm or whatever. It's a cheap trope. You know, there's enough for Rick to do without having him saddled with the wonky arm or no hand or whatever. The other part of it is, I think we need to recalibrate who is untouchable on this show. Because I really feel like, out of all the characters left on this show, the only one who's really untouchable is Rick and Carl. I think everybody else's death is on the table. I really believe that. I believe that anybody can go at any time. When Negan shows up this season, it could be Daryl, it could be Carol, it could be Michonne, and they would all have equally the same emotional impact as if it was somebody else. That's my opinion. Again, handsome, smart. No real inside dirt. Other than to say, somebody's going to bite it when Negan shows up. And everybody is on the table. Except Rick and Carl. Everybody else is on the table. So you can be attached to these characters all you want, but the reality of it is they could go at any time. So those are my thoughts. Feel free to comment on the video itself or on the posting wherever you see it. Please like the video. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and please tell all your friends about it. This was a long video, I know. I appreciate you listening and watching all the videos. Big ups to all my Facebook peeps who watch the videos and do the chats. Alex, Billy, Catherine, Steffi, my lovely wife, Nate, Derek, etc. If I missed you, I apologize. Courtney, Ginger, blah, blah, blah. Alright, guys. Until the next time, thank you.